6, 2021 at 7:30. Before I go any further, I want to confirm that Joel has started recording this meeting in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order number 202.1. This meeting is being conducted via Zoom. That link has been provided to the public so that they can view the meeting, and we have confirmed that the feed is active and working. I have confirmed with Janet, our town clerk, that the meeting has been duly noticed and legal notice requirements fulfilled. Notice has been placed on the Town of Lewisboro website and included in the email distributions from the town. With me on the Zoom conference meeting from the Town of Lewisboro are members of the town board, Richard Sclarin, Jane Crimmins, Tony Gonsalves, and Dan Welsh. We have a quorum and can vote on any matters that come before the board. In addition, we have Town Attorney Gregory Fulchetti, Town Clerk Janet Donahue, and Joel Smith, Facilities Maintenance Director. At the public comment periods, we ask that only the following persons be permitted to speak: residents of the Town of Lewisboro, the Katona-Lewisboro School District, owners of property in the Town of Lewisboro, employees of the Town of Lewisboro. If you want to speak at the public hearing or make a public comment, please raise your hand at the appropriate time. To do that, if you are on Zoom, put your cursor at the bottom of the window and you should see an image of people labeled participants. Click on that to get a panel on the right-hand side with icons at the bottom. You can then click raise hand. Participants who have raised their hand will show up on the host screen in the order that they have raised their hands. The host will then unmute you and tell you that you have the floor. You may also have to unmute yourself if your microphone isn't active. We are also asking that your video be off during the duration of the meeting and only turned on when invited to speak. If you have dialed in on a phone, you can raise your hand to indicate you want to talk by pressing *9. We will ask people to give their name and which hamlet they live in upon entering, and to keep their comments to 2 minutes. Our town clerk will be keeping time, and you will hear a timer at the end of the 2 minutes. If someone is disrespectful, uses profanity at this meeting, they will be asked to leave the virtual meeting, just as they would be asked to leave a physical meeting. Please remember that your camera is on and profanity will not be tolerated in any form, including gestures and acronyms. We also ask that your comments be limited to the issues and not be attacks on individuals. Now, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding outdoor seating at restaurants. This will do no more than extend the existing situation until the end of 2021. Does anybody wish to speak? In that case,
hold on. I have one hand up.
Okay.
And it's Adam Oakes. Adam, I'm asking you to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, Adam Oakes, Vista Hamlet. In consideration of this amendment, our local businesses have been through challenging times during these past 13 months. I would suggest for consideration to eliminate the termination date of 31 December 2021 to keep it open-ended This is because we do not know where the direction of COVID-19 is going. And additionally, December 31st, 2021 is New Year's Eve, just before the New Year's Day holiday. In addition, would consideration be given to build upon this amendment to include all our businesses in town besides the dining businesses and delis in town? Thank you.
Adam, those may be good ideas, but if we make that change, then there will be a significant delay because we'll have to go back to scratch.
Yeah, and Peter, I like that idea, and I think, you know, I'd like to look at other things that we could be doing potentially, and then we can make another amendment as a result of coming up with those other ideas, which would include what Adam suggested. I like that idea very much.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak?
I just wanted to reference the letter from the planning board. Their only caveat was to confirm the total amount of restaurant seating should not exceed the total seating capacity authorized under an approved site plan. Is that built into a language we have, or are we okay on that?
Can I answer Rich's question, Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily built into the language of the local law, which just seeks relief from the site plan requirements that are currently in 220.6-16. But it doesn't provide the facility owner, the premises owner, any ability to have additional seating. It just allows for the seating to be outside in the absence of having to comply with the remainder of 220.16.
Okay.
So the count still would not be modified or increased by this particular amendment that or law that you're considering passing. I don't know if that answers you sufficiently or not.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to be fine with this, and it was kind of indicated by Adam if we can two-step this. So I don't want to hold anything up, as the supervisor was talking about, but if we can make steps towards making this permanent on a going forward basis, we should look into doing that.
Okay.
Peter, it looks like there is a Zoom user that wants to speak.
Okay.
I'll unmute and ask them to state their name, if that's okay.
Yes.
Zoom user, I'm asking you to unmute. And could you please state your name and hamlet? Zoom user, I'm asking you to unmute. You have your hand raised. Okay, well, it's not working, Peter, so whoever that is might have done it by mistake.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to enact this proposed law number 4 of the year, which would allow outdoor seating to be permitted through December 31st, 2021.
Peter, could I just add that a clause in your motion that it's determined that it's a type 2 action pursuant to secret? In
Yes.
addition to that. Okay, sorry.
That's fine. And it's determined that it's a type 2 action according to seeker.
And the effective date would be upon filing, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to move on to a public hearing regarding an amendment to the Wetlands and Water Courses law. You should be aware that we have received a set of comments from the planning board And what I plan to do is to address those comments at a later meeting and possibly incorporate them as amendments to the law down the road. At the moment, the urgency of this is to reduce the bottleneck that we've got in the building department. And I really would like to get this passed tonight.
So none of what they proposed were sort of, deal killers on any one of these items, then they're all enhancements.
They were pretty significant, actually. We might want to, if we just take a minute to pull it up in our email.
All right,
Do that?
but if,
Yep.
In my opinion, the
Understood.
planning board recommendations were pretty substantial and they made the law much better. There were
But
like
if-
4
if-
pretty deep suggestions. I understand the supervisor wants it passed tonight, so that's all I'll say.
I agree with you, Jane. I
So I
basically,
would feel much more comfortable voting on this if there's an amendment that we are going to include. I know it's a different law and all of that, and so I don't know. But sorry, Peter, I interrupted you.
all I'm trying to do 2 things. I will willingly propose accommodating the planning board suggestions as an amendment to the law, but not so that it delays the implementation of the law tonight. We've got a real problem in terms of backlog, and this is an attempt to move it forward.
I'm comfortable with that.
So, Peter, your time frame is we could come back at the next meeting with potential revisions?
Yes,
Okay.
I'd like to open the public hearing, that having been said.
I have Dean Trevelino.
Okay,
Peter, that I'm asking to unmute.
Thank you. I wasn't sure that I'd hit that button right.
You did.
Great. I think these are great changes. I think they're long overdue, actually. I think they'll really help alleviate what's going on as far as the building department is concerned. And I didn't know that the planning board has other changes. I'd love to see if you can post them on the website. That'd be great. Some thoughts I had just to add, if you are going to look at some other changes, it's great what you're doing with the deck and the generator pads. You might consider something that was bandied around years ago with Aldo Bello. I served on the committee that looked at making some changes that sort of got lost in the weeds. But one thing would be looking at a 25-foot buffer for all things like extensions to your home and other things you might want to put close to your house. Fire pits are very common now, the masonry fire chimneys, things like that where the wetlands permit, it might fit in also. But also more importantly, we're the only other town other than North Salem that has a 150-foot buffer for a wetland. The state has a 100-foot buffer for a 14-point-something acre wetlands. We have 150 feet. Most towns, especially ones with large buffers, have a minimum size. We don't have a minimum size. The Stormwater Act, for example, doesn't apply unless you disturb 5,000 square feet, I believe, or more. That's the state model code. So I'm wondering if you could look at a small minimum size, excepting, of course, vernal pools. And there have been some real tie-ups and absurd results sometimes by tiny little wetlands being seen as a wetland, and you put a 150-foot buffer around it. I mean, the most famous thing, if I could close and tell you, I remember St. John's Church when they were left a bunch of money to do a much-needed extension on the church, and a little area that was formed by a driveway berm when they built a house next to the church. A wetland developed there, a tiny one, and they had to do major redesigning, I believe, because of that little wetland. So one other thing, I did not see anything the planning board said, but maybe a small minimum size exemption for small minimum wetlands would really prevent that result. And again, I hate to borrow from other towns, but only one other town, North Salem, has a 150-foot buffer, and I believe they exempt anything under a quarter of an acre. I know we're not quite like that, but looking at our wetlands law, 5,000 square foot wetland that's not a vernal pool makes sense to me. That's all, but otherwise it's a great idea. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Dean. Next, I'm asking Carol Cernak to unmute. Carol?
Hi, this is Carol Cernak, South Salem, New York. Is it appropriate for me to speak about other issues outside of the wetlands?
Not right now. This is a public hearing, so if you
Okay.
wanted to speak during the public comment period 1, you could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. It appears that is it for the public hearing, Peter.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt this series of amendments to the current code of the town of Lewisboro entitled Wetlands and Watercourses.
So
Do I have a second?
Can we add
Second.
this secret to that? If you don't mind, the type 2 secret determination as well. So we have it on the record.
Okay,
Sorry,
well, you've said it.
you can adopt it as I stated. And then
Yeah,
somebody can
okay,
second it.
adopted as stated by Greg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, I'd like to propose,
Yeah, Peter, this
Next.
is where, yeah, go ahead.
public comment period number 1, and I'm at the beginning, I'd like to hear from John Lemke.
Okay,
Yeah,
John, can you raise your hand for me, please? Lemke? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and if I can just preface the presentation here by John. So this is with regards to the Memorial Day celebration, and after several discussions and including with John, the Veterans Advisor, John's the chair of the Veterans Advisory Committee, with our emergency management, we decided to put together a solemn ceremony in front of the townhouse, which is appropriately fitting for Memorial Day. And that's what John is going to be talking about.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes, we did.
Yes,
Okay, great. Yeah, as you know, we did a Memorial Day service last year. And as Peter said, it was rather lonely. It was about 6 of us, and it was all virtual. And this year, we'd really like to do a solemn memorial service, very much like we've done in the past. We'll have the PA system, a podium. We'll have the same agenda items: invocation, national anthem. We'll have speakers. Have the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts lay the wreaths, and we'll have taps. We're working on 1 or 2 buglers. This year, a little different. I'd like to start this at 11 so that we can end it at 12, because now that we have a flagpole, the official protocol for Memorial Day is to have the flag at half staff from sunrise till noon on Memorial Day, and then we raise it full staff at noon. So it would be appropriate to have that as the last item on our ceremony. And I assume everybody is okay with that.
I like that idea a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd kind of like, John, to maintain the flying of a veteran's flag from the townhouse.
Flying a veteran's flag.
From the townhouse.
Okay. I'll have to, look into the, which one, what it looks like. And there's a specific, flag code that we'll follow, but I can find that and do that.
That's in addition to the existing POW MIA flag, Peter, you're saying?
Well, the one flying from the townhouse at the moment is the New York State flag.
Oh, you're talking about the balcony, up on the balcony.
Yes.
Got it.
Oh, the balcony. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yeah, let me look into finding one.
Maybe
That'd be a great idea.
granted his wife's departure, we could fly Bob Williams' flag if we can lay our hands on it.
Oh, you're talking about the banners, like the veterans banners, is that it?
No. Whenever a veteran is buried, there is a flag which is presented.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, I got you too. I misunderstood.
And
yes,
I was just, what?
Good idea.
And I was tossing out Bob Williams, but there are plenty of other veterans in town.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, do you want to go on? John, I kind of interrupted you.
No, I'm all set. We just have to work out the details, get the people lined up who's going to participate. I'll have policemen, firemen. I'm going to ask some of them to act as crowd monitors to make sure we do our distancing, but I don't think that'll be an issue. And
the more difficult thing is the 200 people.
Well, we could be right. We could be well under that.
Okay.
So there'll be an opportunity, just like with the Veterans Day proceeding, there'll be an opportunity for members of the public to gather around the flagpole as they did then, yes?
Say that again, I couldn't hear, I'm sorry.
Just like, John, just like with the Veterans Day observance, there'll be an opportunity for members of the public to come around the flag as they did at that time?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Great.
I think we even had folks parking their cars on the street as well and watching the ceremony from their cars.
Okay. All right. Thank you, John. I'd like to continue with the public comment period.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, Peter. The first one I have over here is Barbara Mangione. And Barbara, I'm asking you to unmute, and you have 2 minutes.
How is that, Jenna?
Yep.
Okay,
That's
thank
good.
you. I just have a question that I'm hoping could be answered by one or several board members once new business comes around. It has to do with the item regarding the talking about banning commercial vehicles on Wild Oaks Road. I'm just a little curious as a resident as to how something like that ends up on a town board agenda. For example, who asked for it to be there and why it's there. We all live on roads that we'd love to ban commercial vehicles on. God knows I live on Increase Miller and it's a nightmare with speeding vehicles, just huge trucks all day long with everybody doing construction up in the other areas. So, I'm always very curious as to how and why something like this in a particular area gets put onto an agenda. That's also an area where, as I'm sure you all remember, 2 years ago, there was some issues with the Park Road banning of cars. And also it has a speed bump on it, which is very interesting. Many years ago, a speed bump was installed on Wild Oaks Road. And I have been told since I moved up here, because we always had issues on Increase Miller with speeding and traffic, that speed bumps are not allowed in town. So when we do come around to new business, I'm hoping some of those questions could be answered. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Barbara. Next, I'm asking Carol Cernak to unmute.
Hi, Carol Cernak, South Salem. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, so, you know, once again, I would like to talk about the issue over at the Salt Dome. I would hope that the town board and our town attorney have had an opportunity to see the post on Lewisboro Citizens Facebook page today by Dean Travellino regarding the operation at the Salt Dome with Hickory Homes and its impact on the environment and the sad view from the cemetery. So I will look forward to hearing feedback on that. So just to be clear, Hickory Homes is operating a commercial portable timber processing plant as well as a commercial portable two-phase rock screening operation. Triaxle 30-yard capacity trucks are allowed from all over Westchester County and even Connecticut. I have been quoted fees by Hickory Homes for purchasing mulch at $14 a yard, dumping timber at $15 a yard, stumps are extra, and at per yard, and topsoil, you can purchase topsoil at $30 per yard. Hickory Homes has no respect for hours of operation or storing diesel. There's been a 250-gallon capacity fuel diesel truck stored overnight on the property and hydraulic fluids on the site. DEC guidelines are not being followed for proper handling for disease and insects. This was intended to be an in-kind agreement so the town would see a savings of $15,000. This is not a commercial zoning area. It is 2-acre residential zoning that adjoins a nature preserve with wetlands and a cemetery that is hundreds of years old. I urge all citizens to voice your concerns to the town board and look forward to this being on the agenda in the future. This also sits within a Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area designation by New York State. So thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Next, I'm asking Bill Bongiorno to unmute.
Hi, Bill Bongiorno, Vista. Good evening, Supervisor and Town Board. Thank you for your service. As many in town know, there have been several times in which the business of the town board has not been referred to an ethics board prior to moving forward. While residents have persistently raised questions about potential conflicts of interest, and while Councilman Sclaren voiced his own concerns at the last town board meeting, the town board has been unable to request advice from an impartial ethics board because the Lewisboro Ethics Board has not convened for years. It is vital that town government has a duly appointed ethics board to safeguard residents, as well as government employees, when potential conflicts of interest arise. Even the appearance of impropriety should be referred to the ethics board for guidance given state and Lewisboro Town Code. We need to reconvene the ethics board again in Lewisboro and revise the town's code of ethics to require public disclosure of all advisory opinions that concern potential conflicts of our elected officials. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Next, I'm asking Marissa Beatty to unmute. Marissa?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. While the Oak Ridge Water District Water Committee represents a step forward in the town's accountability towards our water, including progress in some areas, the town board fundamentally does not agree with many of their proposals, including those for an independent engineering study of our plant systems, including an audit, preparing an annual operating plan, a moratorium on ongoing development at Oak Ridge, and many other well-founded requests. It is your job to be our advocate. We are not water experts and neither are you. It seems like the town board is not in favor of engaging in an independent engineering firm to do a thorough audit of our wells, plants, and system. Though this type of study is only one way that the customers and the town board can make an informed decision about the status of its infrastructure, even if we find things that we do not like, or they recommend things that we cannot afford. The town firmly believes that flushing will resolve most issues, including the sedimentation and the discoloration, coupled with some new GAC filters to tackle the PFOA PFOS problem. Never mind that our plant footprint cannot support any additional technology. While GAC filters are amazing and would likely be successful on improving the water quality as it comes out of the filter, it cannot overcome the hurdles of our pipes out of the distribution or out of the distribution system itself, which is plagued by dead ends and turbulence, which create a churn that brings up sediment and sits at the bottom of our pipes, bringing sediment into the waters after it has been filtered. Oh, gosh. No amount of filtration can overcome a system that was poorly conceived and poorly designed, period. Bill Bright of Delaware Engineering has said on numerous occasions that he believes our plant is in danger of catastrophic failure. I know that the town believes that they are doing an excellent job, but if they do, then the town would be willing to support anything that the committee brings forward to improve the water at Oak Ridge. The fact that we have people who are coming into this new election season and they're willing to help us get new water, I really hope that the current administration is willing to put any effort into submitting any grants on our behalf for Oak Ridge.
Okay, thank you, Marissa. I believe that's it for public comment period 1.
Okay. I'd like to close the public comment period and move on to communications. I have one item for communications.
You need a motion to close that? No. Okay.
All right, yeah. Can I have a second to close the public
Janet's
comment
saying we don't
period?
need that. Janet's saying we don't need that.
Okay.
That's only for public hearings, right?
Okay.
Greg? Okay.
Me bad. Okay.
Thanks, Janet.
I've received a letter from the DOT telling me, or my offices, that the local New York State Department of Transportation Northern Westchester Residency will plan to start seasonal, limited, targeted vegetation control applications for brush control measures along various state routes, i.e. guardrails, signposts, etc., within the next 1 to 2 weeks. I have written to Michael J. LaRose, who sent me the letter. I have also written to Vagnini, Giselle Vagnini, with whom we had a meeting, I think a couple of years ago, when we had a similar issue. And basically, I'm saying I thought that we'd resolved this and they weren't going to do this again. Kevin Hansen from Pound Ridge has written a letter saying, what pesticides will you be using and have you notified the residents on state roads? I wrote, first, I would endorse Kevin's comments. Second, most of the state roads in Lewisboro are also residential roads. So informing those residents is really vital. Kids walk along the sides of those roads. Lewisboro has banned the use of pesticides on all town property, including town roads. I really cannot understand why DOT cannot do likewise. Giselle held a meeting of town officials last time this happened, and I had the impression that it would be discontinued. That's DOT's opening salvo, and that's mine and Kevin Hansen's response. I'd like to move on to the consent agenda and ask for approval of the minutes of the March 22nd, 2021 meeting.
Were you going to acknowledge a gift from John and Nancy Wolf?
No, because I was asked not to.
Oh, okay. It's written on the agenda. Sorry.
I know, and when John read it, he asked me to take it off,
Humble, humble.
but it was a bit late by that time.
Well, now we've drawn a whole bunch of attention to it. Sorry, John.
I in fact told him that acknowledgements of that kind are not just a thank you to the individual, but are also an effort to encourage others to do likewise. I haven't heard from him. All right, I'd like to ask for approval to the minutes of the town board meeting held on March 22nd. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would like Eagle Scout candidate Kai Vial
Yep,
to
we're gonna ask
present
him,
his project.
we're gonna make him a co-host, Kai.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Mhm.
Hello. Okay.
Hi, Kai.
I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Okay. So my name is Kai Vial, and I'm here to present my Eagle project. So my project will enlighten the walking trail around the pond at Lewisboro Town Park, and it will go hand in hand with the ADA accessible nature trail that will be installed in the spring. I have planned 3 elements that will make up the project. All right, 1 second. All right, there we go. So the first element will be 3 to 5 log benches. They will each be around 6 feet long and a foot in diameter, and they will make up an outdoor classroom that can be utilized by the Town Camps Nature Program, as well as just a fun place for children to hang out. They will be designed like this one in Mount Holly Preserve, with 2 stumps to raise it off the ground and wedges to keep it from rolling away. They will be treated and removed of bark. This is the general location in the town park that I envision the log benches to be. The second aspect of my project will be a lending library similar to this one at Ontrue. It will contain shorter books that adults or children can take on a nice stroll around the pond, as well as field guides for people looking to observe local wildlife. It will be around just under 5 feet tall and 2.5 feet wide. This is the general location in the town park that I envision the lending library will be. The third aspect of my project will be 2 nature signs. So the first nature sign will be at the head of the trail near the swing set and will contain a scavenger hunt that will tell kids what to look for while walking on the trail, such as bird calls, animal tracks, and nests and burrows. And the second sign will be by the first nature shack and will contain information about the environment, such as the food chain, examples of native animals and plants, and an overview of the woodland habitat. So on your left is the location of the first sign, and on your right is the location of the second sign. So I'm trying to design them similar to this one at Oldfield Preserve, as well as a few signs in Leon Levy Preserve. So this project will enhance the visitors' experience to Lewisboro Town Park and will provide more activities for kids and adults by encouraging them to interact with the outdoors, as well as enhancing the Town Camps Nature Program to open the door for possible nature programs in the town park. I've lived 1 mile from Lewisboro Town Park my entire life, and I've made countless memories to cherish there, from town camp to cross country. And in choosing this as my Eagle project, I feel that this is my chance to give back to the place that has given so much to me. Thank you.
Very nice. And it's nice that you pick something that dovetails with other plans for the area and we'll just generally bring the whole thing up. Sounds wonderful.
Yep.
Sounds-
Good job, Kai. Great presentation. Thank you very much for doing this.
Sounds great. I'm continuously amazed about our tremendous scouting program in our town. If any community has more Eagle Scouts and Eagle Scout candidates in Lewisboro, I'd be surprised. It's just amazing that year after year we have such outstanding candidates. It's really a tribute to our community.
Thank you.
Dana, did you wish to speak on this? No.
I think, yes, she does. I'm asking her to mute. She's Park and Rec.
It's a great project. We think it will truly enhance the the amenities we already have out at Town Park. And Kai has already gone through ASPAC and got his their full blessing.
And Prac as well, right, Dana?
And Prac as well, yes. So we're very excited about his project, and we will help him all we can to get him to succeed at it.
Thank you.
I'd like to make to propose a resolution approving this Eagle Scout project of candidate Kai
Vial.
Vial. I'm never quite sure if it's Viali or Vial.
Vial.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Thanks, Kai.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
I'd like to propose a resolution approving the application of Farmers Grind for an outdoor special events and sales permit, noting that on July 10th and August 14th of this year, we do not wish them to compete with two other events in town. First of all, the South Salem Fire Department Carnival, and secondly, a fundraiser for the Town Park Playground.
Peter, we also have the library fair, September 18th.
Yeah, but that's late. The Farmer's Grind begins in the evening.
6 to 9.
What?
6 to 9.
There's no conflict.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that, but
what the date of the South Salem Carnival? This is, I see July 31 and the next date is August 14th. Doesn't it fit right in between?
It's on August 14th this year.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I understand that there's no conflict in the hours at Onatru and the Lewisboro Library Fair, but I think there's a conflict in terms of, and I'd have to go back and look, but the Lions Club is cooking there and winding down and cleaning up. And there was still some concern, even though there was no overlap in time. So I just don't want to lose that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Find it.
I think she was raising her hand.
Minutes.
Can I unmute her to discuss this?
Yes.
Farmers Grind, I'm asking you to unmute, please. Hello?
Hi there.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Trying to sort the video. You can't see me though.
The video is blocked. So.
Okay, that's fine. No problem.
Yep.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to say that there really, I just want to make it clear that there's no competition. We're not trying to compete in any way. I did, of course, if you guys say that you would rather us not have those two events with our food, we have a food truck and we have live music that have both been secured for those dates. And, I think that it would be okay to have two events that are not competing. They're both on either ends of the town. I think that there's a maximum number of people with COVID going on. I think what the max is like 150, and not saying that either event's going to get to that point, but it gives people from the different towns that are closer to Vista, like the Connecticut towns and are following on Instagram, the chance to also come to ours as well. And I know that the July 10th date is for the fundraiser for the town park, but I was thinking that maybe even it would be beneficial for us to be a part of that fundraiser and have, offer donations for the town park, as well as contributing ourselves.
It's a nice solution.
Yeah.
So Michelle,
this is-
that
this is
fundraiser
Eric
would
with the
be,
Farmers Grind too. I don't know if you can hear me, but as Michelle mentioned, there's no competing, and we only want to contribute to the town. That's essentially why we started the business. So you all know we have our own separate careers. It's not monetary. It's to bring a place for the community, and people can come and grab coffee and hang out in a social spot. And if we can contribute rather than compete, that's what we'd like to do. So if there's a way that we can make this work where it works for everybody, and on what's the date?
It's the July 10th and August 14th.
Yeah, then that's what we strive to do. So if we have a great following on our Instagram, and we can mention things about the town fair, as well as maybe you guys mention stuff about us, and we get different, because we get customers from New Canaan, Pound Ridge, even as far as
Bedford,
Norwalk.
down
Yeah.
Stanford. So it would be nice that we could, just promote our town in general, and that way kind of split it. And also it doesn't just leave one event for a bunch of people to go do, because I think everybody's really looking to get out this summer. So I feel like giving a couple different options with different things. We have ice cream and music, and even if the other things have ice cream, or have music rather, and food, I think it just kind of spreads it out a little bit.
Well, if you could sit down and have a discussion with Michael Lynch of the South Salem Fire Department, who I believe is running the carnival this year.
Okay.
That would be helpful. And the same thing for I'm not quite sure who is running the event at the town park.
Okay.
Jane, do you know?
Dana would know, but it's Valerie Cankro. I mean, it's that 501c3, but I'm sure if you get in touch with Lewisboro Playground, they have a website, lewisboroplayground.com. I can pull that up actually and give you the email right now.
If the
You
two,
know the time frame on that, Jane?
I feel like they were still working it out. And I think it was more about like just drawing people out, and it's 6 to 10.
yeah, I was gonna say, that's a pretty much all night event at the town park. And they are trying to raise a lot of money there, so I think, yeah, I would rather we skip that day. July 10th.
But if the Farmers Grind is willing to, on maybe on those evenings, make a contribution, then maybe it's actually more outreach for those events.
So
I don't know. It's up to.
yeah, so I just want to give you the email is lewisboroplayground@gmail.com.
Okay. Our event, we don't charge an admission fee, but pushing a donation, and then also doing 5% of our profits or 10% of our profits going to a fundraiser just adds more, just gives them more for our town. It's if we cut that out, it's cutting. So last year with COVID, we did something every weekend, and obviously that was a lot. We did it safely, but this year we decided to do it every other weekend. And the events those are the dates that I listed on the permit application. Taking those 2 dates out really limits the dates that we offer. And, I want to make sure that we give enough dates, and, it's for everybody. It's the people that we have singing. I kind of secured all that stuff early because everything is really being booked up rather quickly. So I already reached out to those people who I have booked for those dates, and they're not available to move it. So that's just taking out a date for us. I want to make it work. I think that we're almost 10 miles away, and no offense, I didn't even know about the fundraiser event at the town park. So I feel like we could even make that out like, hey, come to us, or if you're closer, go to the town park. Like, we don't care. We just want to be able to have the opportunity, the option for people around here to come.
And as mentioned, I think we have the ability to draw from other towns.
Yeah.
I know what it's sounding like is that this is a Lewisboro focused event that you guys are hosting, which is fantastic. We went to the drive-in movie night, and we go to as many events as we can. But we have the ability to also bring donations from other towns. And I'm assuming that's essentially what we are aiming for ultimately, correct? We spend, at least people in Vista spend money in New Canaan and spend money in Town Ridge. And now we have the opportunity to maybe reverse that. And now we got people from New Canaan and people from Pound Ridge and people from Norwalk coming and spending money and donating to Lewisboro.
What's the cost of the permit application?
It's I believe it's $200.
Do we have the option in exchange for assisting us and helping us out on July 10th based upon the not-for-profit to waive that application fee as for helping out the town on that? So with the July 10th time conflict.
So
Explain that again, Rich. You mean waive it?
To waive the $200 in exchange for helping out and not competing with the July 10th.
Or not having that date. So you're still concerned that it's going to detract.
Well, the time frame is the same. It's the 6 to 10 as Tony was saying. So,
should we maybe discuss this?
I mean, this is all the reason we passed this law, allowing food trucks and entertainment, was to try to revive business in Lewisboro.
Right.
At the moment, we've got Pound Ridge to some extent eating our lunch by having a variety of events and building an audience. And what we were trying to do, I thought, was to give businesses in Lewisboro a similar opportunity.
Well, with that,
I'm
sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just saying my inclination would be to ask the Farmers Grind to collaborate with those events that we spoke of, on those conflicting days in a way that best benefits the town, and with that commitment, then to go ahead. But
I was also going to encourage, that was kind of Peter's initial idea, and I encourage that as well, because at this point now I feel like I'm speaking on, and I'm not really even sure how the 501c3 for the playground committee would feel. They might love that idea. I know that they're looking to partner with everybody, and so I wouldn't want to shut that down if that's something that both parties would enjoy, and then all of a sudden we've shut something down that didn't need to be. So I really encourage you to use that email to reach out that I gave you for the Lewisboro playground, and I think they'd be really happy to field that call and to connect with you. So I appreciate that idea and you bringing it to us. And I think it's best if you all can work it out. That'd be great.
Great. Well, with everybody's input, I'll move to approve the permit application as stated.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, I should not laugh. I've got a resolution designating town clerk Janet Donahue as minority and women-owned enterprise officer for the purpose of Delaware Engineering submission of New York water grants to New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, otherwise known as EFC. This is a requirement if Delaware is going to submit for this grant.
in other words, when the bidding happens, that it would be encouraging minority and women-owned businesses, and there should be an officer who's overseeing that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good idea. And anyway, it's necessary for that grant. So
Right.
what's there to say?
Thank you, Janet.
Yes, yes. There's,
You-
there's always that.
Yeah.
Can I have a second on that resolution?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Rich, maybe you should lead the next discussion.
Sure, thank you.
Discussion. Rich has been pushing to have a grants committee.
Yes, I think I've been thinking about this and talking about this for quite a while. I think that with the increasingly complex world of grants, having a committee such as this would be great. The way that grants come up, I think one of the great benefits, we could take advantage of our pool of talent in our town, people with not-for-profit background, people who want to get involved. I know that Jane and Tony both recently got some grant applications in, which is terrific. But one of the things that would be a tremendous resource is if we could develop a grant calendar, essentially. So we know the recurrent grants that come up that are potentially available, and can diary those and make sure that that process gets followed, as well as one-time opportunities which may present itself that may come through the state or through the federal government, has recently happened. For example, PPE was a one-time thing that I know, being formerly in the library board, applied for that opportunity. And it's just a matter of being aware and having people that are out there identifying these opportunities for us can be a great benefit. I just think about when my kids are past college now, but even when there are so many grants and opportunities and financing things that are out there, say for college, that you simply just don't know about. You just got, so having an opportunity of resources, people have that background and information, we could take that and then work on relationships that we have with other levels of government and try and maximize as many grant opportunities as we can and have that set up on a recurring basis. I think that this committee could potentially have the most beneficial financial impact for our town going forward. And I think it's a really good idea whose time has come.
That's an excellent idea. It's great. Outstanding. Yeah.
Do other towns have grant committees?
No,
Most other towns have a grant writer, at least.
On staff, or you mean a volunteer?
Contractor.
Normally on stuff, paid.
Contracting, yeah.
I see contractors fairly frequently.
Yeah.
And there's groups that market their services in the region for things like clean water grants, consolidated funding applications, and the like. They're out there, many groups.
Well, aside from this, it's also an opportunity for people who get involved to establish and develop relationships with other governmental officials, both local, county, state, and federal. It's and to deepen the relationships that members of our community have with those people. So I just think it's a good thing to move forward on.
So I assume they would have to do their research and then bring their ideas to the town board to, at least give them some idea. Yeah, that's something we want to go after, or no. So,
Or vice versa.
yeah. So maybe some short mission statement to that effect, or. And then
yes, I mean, I think,
figure out
yes, it's just taking the talents of people on the committee who, based upon their knowledge base, as well as people having research talents and working together and devising a strategy. But yes, we should have a brief mission statement. But here's 100 potential grant opportunities coming up in the next year. We have a calendar to develop it, and we have a mechanism in place that we don't miss those potential opportunities going forward. And we set it up that way.
Let's do it. That's great. They can be become familiar with the state unified system there. What do they call that? The application system and
That's the grants portal.
yeah, the grants portal and,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
all the other sources.
And I think there may be an overlap in the talent pool of people with the master plan steering committee and subcommittees. There may be some overlap in the talent pool there that people could get involved and have a close to immediate impact to benefit our town financially, hopefully.
Mhm. So next up,
Rich, would you like to push on that?
Sure, I can come up, I guess, with a mission statement and then turn it into a resolution, I guess. Is that?
And then we will, and I would like right now, in fact, to ask anybody who is interested to please apply.
Actually, that it's a good segue, Peter, that on the town website, there's a general canvas for volunteers. If we could somehow have that periodically itemized so people can, so we know what committees are looking for, have vacancies, and then people could tailor their specific application and CV to the committee that serves as dovetails with their skill set and interest.
Okay.
so yeah, there's no reason we can't go out and solicit, you know, people for this committee now, just as we did with our last effort, as long as we get the committee formed before we appoint them.
Right.
Nothing stopping us from interviewing and all that.
My thought process was that it should have either 3 or 5. I don't know if anybody has any ideas as far as membership, but I guess we just see what we have, and then up to a certain, we can, I guess, approve up to X amount, and then to see how we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our police department has been pretty good at submitting for grants. I don't know how many they miss. I do know that they've been pretty good at finding grants.
Right. Well, this can have such a tremendous beneficial effect where the people that work for our town can spend less time applying for grants, hopefully, and can spend more time on their central mission, whether it's the police department or whether it's Dana and Parks and Rec. They can spend more time focused on the central mission day to day that they should be on.
And water is going to continue to be a huge one. And it's a complex one. And Tony did a very good job on applying for the last one. Jane did a very good job on the park. But I don't know how complex they're going to get going forward. But we shouldn't kid ourselves. All we've done is stage a half of applying for those grants, and they're likely to come back to us with considerable complexity. Okay, I'd like to move on to a discussion of, hey, Rich.
Back to Rich.
I'm up again, huh?
Of prohibiting commercial vehicles on Wild Oaks Road.
Okay.
This is a tough road to go down, I can tell you, having been down it twice.
Right. No pun intended or pun intended? Okay.
Pun intended.
Okay. Basically, the premise here is that and the idea is to model this similar to what was done for Kitchewan back in 2013, with exceptions for residents of the road driving to and from their residences, vehicles picking up and delivering, etc. It's to address a very specific issue. Okay. I've lived in Wild Oaks for 23 years, and in Wild Oaks, if you come up Wild Oaks Road, there's a circle there, and the circle is where, you know, there's a main bus stop for the kids, etc. But what there's been a problem with is that it's been a pass-through over the years, apparently because GPS tells people to go through Wild Oaks and come out on Fairmont as opposed to going around. So over the years, the specific problem is large trucks have been coming through and chopping up that circle and the curb over and over again, so it looks terrible. So the specific point is to simply have that sign up at both ends to try and restrict large trucks from going through. And then with that reduced, hopefully could do something to maybe even reduce the size of the circle by a couple of feet. I had some preliminary discussions with Peter Rippinger on this. And then if we get the structure looking okay, then we could work on plantings and making it look more like a centerpiece for the community, as hopefully it should be. And that's the basic point we're trying to address by this.
And just to add, Rich, I mean, I've personally been in the area where I have ways on, and to get from my street, you know, where I live on Green Hill Road, to 684, it wants me to go down Wild Oaks Road and come out on 138. Now, if I'm a tractor trailer, I'm probably going to do the same thing.
Right.
And that road is just not big enough to support commercial traffic like that.
Right, and this came up, and because it came up in the public comment. Yes, I asked to put this on the agenda as a town board member, and the idea for doing so came after my preliminary conversations with Peter Rippinger.
I should warn you on two things: that the state hates it, and we had a big problem getting the state on the two ends of Kitchewan to put up signs on the state roads. They were willing enough to let us put up signs on Kitchewan in Pound Ridge and Kitchewan in Lewisboro. Unfortunately, that doesn't do much good, because by the time the truck sees the sign, he's already made the turn. We had
also in Kitchewan. Kitchewan's a double yellow road, and this is exclusively, residential neighborhood, and so
Kitchewan is not double yellow in Lewisboro, only in Pound Ridge.
Yeah, and in Pound Ridge, it's maybe single yellow or something, I think.
There's a yellow one that gone down it somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, in the end, we won the battle on Kitchewan because trucks got stuck there and they couldn't get. Well, Andrew Llewellyn once spent an entire day, I seem to remember, dislodging a truck from Kitchewan, which is kind of a waste of a police sergeant's time. Except apparently nobody else knew how the heck to do it. The other one, Spring Hill, that was easier in a sense because we had accident data to back us up.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas initially the DOT did not regard having a truck stuck on Kitchewan as an accident. All I'm saying is, yes, it can be done, but be prepared. I don't know how long it took. Janet, can you remember how long it took to get it done on Kitchewan? 2-3 years?
I do not. I'd have to research that, Peter.
But it was a very lengthy process.
Well, we didn't have a state senator that lived in our town then. Maybe that'll be helpful.
Well, yeah, but he lives on Kitchewan.
Yes, we wasn't the state senator then.
So I have no problem with this per se, and I can understand the precipitating issues that led to the request. I do think that I could understand from our public commenter's point of view, and a point of view, it does make me a little bit uncomfortable that, this happens to be right outside a town board member's house. And so maybe that's how it got on, that's how it gets on the agenda. I think there are probably other roads in town that this happens on and that people would rather it didn't. So for me, it's more like I just feel a little uncomfortable about the access and the use of access. But as for the idea itself, I have nothing against it. It makes perfect sense.
I mean, you could argue that Spring Hill Lane is one of the ways I come to work every morning.
I could, but I'm not on the agenda right now. And I said what I needed to say. I'm not going to.
Well, so I think just, I mean, look at Increase Miller Road. Be nice to cut traffic off of that one, but in the case of Wild Oaks or Spring Hill, it's truly like a shortcut. If in the case of Increase Miller Road, if you don't go that way to get into that area of Todd, then you have to go the full length of Todd or something like that to get where you're going.
Yeah.
And so it's a little different.
I'm sure there are roads in town for which this is an issue that we're not even aware of, because the members or the people who have that concern either haven't voiced them or haven't come and don't sit in these seats. And that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing the idea. And I don't think that the precedent of Peter saying, oh, well, we did it before, it could have been because I took advantage of the process. It's like, well, that doesn't make it like the right way for, so that's all. It's a discomfort with the process. It's not the idea.
Well, it's not.
But Rich has done the big thing. He has got the highway department's support. There is one other department I would suggest you get support from, and that's the police department.
Sure. Well, that's where the idea came from. This is not, I don't live right there. I live off that and down the end of the block. And the idea is really to improve something that'll have a benefit, which is continuing behind the curve as far as maintaining that area, that circle. That's really what we're talking about.
And I feel really certain that if we were to ask the residents, that they would come and express exactly what you have said.
Right. And also, Tony and I and other members of the GBHO who planted the beautiful yellow flowers, and maybe they don't get mowed down also in years coming forward,
They call that daffodils.
Yes.
So
yeah, so if I just answer to this, Jane's got a good point, but I think one thing that's unique about this road is that roundabout that's there. Yes. And when you have large commercial vehicles go in there, they're going to hit it. There's no way for them to really go around it because there's not enough room. In fact, Peter, if you remember when we did the site visit in Goldensbridge with DOT, we were standing over the 138 overpass and a resident came up to us. And what did they complain about? They complained about that roundabout and how messy it was and how the curb on it was broken off, and is the town going to do anything about it? So it will cost us to keep that maintained. So we could build that curb that's around the diameter of that circle, but it's going to get broken up again.
I mean, I don't see anybody losing by doing this. And if I, have my way, every one of our neighborhoods, we should do everything we can for traffic calming and improving so if the next one we move on to is some other road, then we'll look at that one and do everything we can in that case. I have no problem.
The initial, on Tony's point, and speaking with Peter Rivinger, the initial concept he was talking about was actually narrowing by a couple of feet, I guess, the circle. So to address that issue as well, so it won't be recurrent.
That may be an excellent idea because we're not going to, in essence, ban trucks. We're going to ban trucks which are not making deliveries on the road.
Exactly.
Through trucks.
Well,
exactly.
Through trucks. So you are still going to have trucks which are likely to hack at that curb.
Yeah, and this I see from the model from Kitchewan. I mean, there's all the exceptions. It's just a matter if you can say, okay, no 18-wheelers on this street. That's the same concept we're talking about.
Yes. Okay. So the end of the road, which would have where we need the state's agreement, is Route 22, right?
Yes. And I
And
guess-
you're not planning to do it on 138. You're planning to let them up Fairmont and then to turn in the traffic in the circle at the end of Fairmont.
Well, I mean, I guess the best way is from both ends, from both one.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the question. I mean,
Yes.
in
yes,
which
that's-
case,
Then you're with both on both sides of the issue.
Yes.
I'd be asking DOT to do it on Route 138 and on Route 22.
Correct.
All right. I'd like to move on.
Can we, Peter, before we move on, and I think my audio is not that great. It's still happening.
Telling me it isn't.
Yeah, I know. But what I wanted to, there was a question that was brought up about speed bumps and why we have them on Wild Oaks Road, but we don't install them elsewhere. I know highway doesn't like them.
So they're not illegal. It's just a matter of their, in terms of traffic calming measures, they're not encouraged. The state highway manual is, I think, sort of talks to them not as like solutions or anything, but they're in the manual and you can do them, but they're just, the highway department doesn't like them maybe, but if you do it as a speed table rather than a speed bump, it's less of an issue on the plowing. And I think you need to address this kind of traffic calming with all the different things you can throw at it first if you can. And you're looking at some measure here. Sometimes it could be just psychological measures, putting a sign, now entering our neighborhood, just everything you can do to sort of create that sense of I'm no longer on the highway. But you can still pull out the speed bumps sometimes when it makes sense.
Tony, you remember how it came about? I think it was put there, must have been 15 plus years ago. That I don't even know how it came about there.
I don't remember. I don't know.
Joel said
There are
it's
two
Steve
roads
Hill.
in town which have speed bumps. The road we're discussing and also West Road in Vista.
Right. What were you saying, Janet?
Joel and I were just talking and he said Steve Hill put that in.
Okay.
I gather the most successful place that this has been done is on the shortcut in Katona from 35. One?
Cherry Hill.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that the negative consequences of speed bumps or why they're not like a first go-to is I remember the sound that people, I don't know how aware people are, but that tends to be one complaint that props up pretty quickly is it goes like ka-dunk dunk and people don't
How's
like
that go again, Jane?
Ka-dunk ka-dunk, you like that? And people don't like that in their residential neighborhoods. And then I remember the other is that it was really tough on our machinery, specifically plowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying those are my reasons. I'm saying that those are reasons I remember.
If we want to do it, we need to talk to Kevin Young, the DPW chief in Bedford, and see what he feels and his police department feels about the places which they've installed them on the shortcut.
Yeah, and they did a whole trial with it. They put it in 2 different places and.
Yes, they did. So there's quite a lot, there should be quite a lot of information.
Right.
Right, so I'm wondering the temporary unit that they were using, is that sitting in a warehouse somewhere that could be borrowed?
I've got a terrible feeling it may be sitting in a warehouse somewhere.
Yeah. We talked about using it after they were done.
Yes, there was also a certain amount of opposition.
Called Oskalita that goes up and over that mountain that people just fly around.
So,
okay, are they still alive?
I mean, I guess so. I think they're otherwise.
what's the next step on this, Peter, that we need to take?
On Wild Oaks Road, sorry, yeah, that's what we'd write a letter to the DOT and get their agreement. And I'd like your help on, somebody's help on being, on that letter being as persuasive as possible. Because their initial inclination is going to be to say no.
Maybe Tony could give some help as far as who to direct that to.
Oh, I know who we've got to direct it to, okay. Lance McMillan.
Okay.
Just a comment on the Fairmount Road side, we own that property on the corner. Are we permitted to put a sign there without asking DOT?
Not if the sign, you can put signs on our roads. You cannot put up a sign which is clearly designed to be seen from 138.
And direct traffic on the state road without the permission of the state.
Okay.
Even if the control device is on your property, you need DOT's permission. So one thing you maybe do is talk to your chief of police and see if there's any, safety or policing reason that the initiative would also be a good thing for safety and welfare.
It'd be really good if we could get a strong support from Dave.
All right, so I'll reach out to LPD and then the letter for DOT, right?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Do we need a resolution for that, Greg?
For the letter?
Yeah.
For the letter of support, you can make the motion to do it and authorize Peter to send the letter of support to requesting DOT's approval.
I propose, oh no, I can't propose. Will somebody else propose that?
I will move.
Second, discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The second public comment period. Does anybody wish to take advantage of it?
There's a couple hands going up here, so I just ask Carol Cernak to unmute. Carol?
Hi, Carol Cernak, South Salem. I would just like to say, with regard to what's going on at the Salt Dome with Hickory Homes, Tony is the only person who has been in touch with me and responded to emails. So I very much appreciate his help and his willingness to get to the bottom of this. I just think this is a situation that got way out of control. There was no parameters on the contract. Probably a good faith, in-kind proposition, but it's turned into something completely different. And I look forward to putting an end to it. So everybody's quality of life can return back to normal, and people who visit their loved ones at the cemetery don't have to look at this. I mean, it is atrocious. So thank you, Tony.
You're welcome, Carol.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Next, I'm asking Dean Travelino to unmute. Dean? Dean?
Can you hear me?
Now I can, yep. You're good.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, first, I want to tell you that I guess Carol Cernak mentioned that I put a post on Facebook earlier today or late last night, I forget now. But I want to apologize to the board for not expressing my concerns directly to you, as I have done from time to time. It's just that over the past year, I've heard the noise. I've seen the big trucks entering and leaving, and was hoping this might go away. I was wondering also at what point it was becoming not a town activity, but a commercial and illegal operation in a 2-acre zoning area. You know, I wasn't happy driving by it on Spring Street or on Route 35, but other people like Carol and many others have made comments, and I was hoping you would get this fixed. But honestly, this past Sunday, it was a beautiful day. I went in there, going to the cemetery. I haven't been there in a while. And Liza and I was just appalled when I saw the scene. I was shocked, really just blown away. No BS. I talk like this very often, but I went home and my therapy was to write something about it. I just can't imagine how this could have been let to go that far. 20-foot high berms of dirt, higher than that logs, a commercial logging operation. It's incredible. You know, I was involved in a project to possibly move the highway garage into that area 15 years ago. We worked with the town consultants. We had to push it all the way up against the cemetery, dig the back wall in so that with a green roof, so no one would see it, not the way you see things now, and move everything to the edge of the property, to the eastern edge, to stay away from the wetlands. There's a nature preserve, there's a wetland, there's 2 historic farms. Somebody's got to look at this. This is a complete outrage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dean. That appears to be it, Peter.
All right, I'd like to close the second public comment period, and I'd like to propose approval of claims. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to poll the board. Rich.
Yes, I had raised something in the polling last time, and I had asked for some input from the town attorney, and maybe Greg could just share that input so we could finish up that issue.
Sure. Thanks, Rich. As the board is aware, when we had the Sustainable Westchester presentation on the 12th, there was a comment or two about Councilman Welch's involvement with Sustainable Westchester. And by way of history, the original agreement and subsequent renewals with that group and that consortium, Councilman Welch did actually seek an opinion from prior council Anthony Millay as to whether or not there was a conflict with him voting on those. And Mr. Millay gave those opinions to Councilman Welch, and he shared them with me, and I reviewed them, and I'm in agreement that there is no actual conflict with him voting on any of the future agreements or the past agreements if he may have voted with that group. The standard for conflict is direct financial conflict. The way the group is structured, the way the agreements are structured with the town, that's just not necessarily the case. So I agree with Anthony's opinion, and I had a conversation with Dan about that. Councilman Welch over, not this past weekend, but the weekend prior, subsequent to that meeting. And I think that, for the purposes of the 12th presentation, that was sheerly informational for the residents to understand what the benefits that the group offers to the participating individuals can be, and what the program structure is. So I didn't really have an issue with the presentation itself. For me, it was always going back to the agreements and their renewals and what I have learned from them and what I've learned from Dan, and just the structure of the organization. I don't have a concern about a conflict. With that said, Councilman Welch and I did speak, and I think, for the appearance of future dealings with the entity, he probably will end up recusing himself, but I'll let him speak to that. Again, it's not really a standard of an appearance of impropriety. It's really an actual conflict within your code of ethics. And it doesn't rise to that. But, discretion being the better part of valor, I think that, that's probably his position going forward. I'll certainly let him speak to that. And again, you're free to seek any advisory opinions from your Board of Ethics if you don't have one. I know you have a couple of members. I don't know if they're active. You can always refer to the county if any board member wanted something other than my opinion on it. And the county could do that if you don't have a duly constituted board, which, by the way, you're not required to have. You're only required to have a code, which you do have. But that's my thought on it. And I think I shared that with the board members in a communication here about a week ago. And Rich had asked me to speak to it, which I'm glad to do. And I certainly will speak to anybody further about it if you wish.
So Greg,
I'll just confirm that in future, if there are votes that come up, I'll recuse myself just if people, from appearances sake or whatever. But again, my role at Sustainable Westchester is, it's a nonprofit organization, and we're promoting programming that the town participates in as part of a consortium to address climate change. And there's no, direct benefit or anything. So, but I'm happy to recuse myself just so these questions don't get raised.
and I just wanted to publicly thank you for that, Dan, and your input on that, and I appreciate it. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Jane.
I have had several residents approach me in the last couple of days about having children who have special needs, varying diagnoses, and they would like to talk to us about having their children have the opportunity to attend town camp, which is something that I had brought up earlier in my tenure here on the board. And now that we have some community members reaching out, I think, again, it's a nice idea. I mean, obviously not for this summer, but to think about the ways that we can integrate programming or staffing so that all the children in our community can go to camp together. In one case, there is a brother and sister, and the brother is able to go to town camp and the sister is not. And this would mean a lot. And so I wanted to bring that up here to my fellow board members and see what we can do. I'd like to meet with some individuals going forward, and then obviously speak with Dana and see how we can get the ball rolling on that. But I'm hoping that I will have people's support in kind of seeing how we might be able to accommodate our programming to include all children so that they can learn and play side by side.
Jane, I don't know enough about this, but I am well aware there is an agreement between the town and an organization which I had thought was supposed to provide summer camp.
Northeastern.
So yes, and these individuals are aware of that option, and yet they desire to have their children attend town. Those programs are far away. They're specialized, and I think that people are just looking to send their kids to camp and not qualify that with, oh, she needs special camp or he needs this, or and so is there a way that we in the town, we're having this fundraiser for children with rare disorders that's getting a ton of support. The ADA playground, I mean, this is something that's a really good idea. It's a playground that needs to be updated anyway. And so this is just another step. And yes, sometimes there are needs that require a bit more. But nonetheless, to just give a separate environment is not what all families are looking for. I think families are looking for their kids to go to camp together with the kids they go to school with. And I see that Matthew Goglia has his hand raised. I know him, and I know that he is probably going to speak specifically to what I'm talking about. I'm comfortable with that if we can give him some space, but if not, maybe we could find another time.
Let's come up with a specific proposal, can we?
Well, I mean, the proposal is now to work with Dana to try and come up with something. Yeah.
All right. Yes. I don't.
Why wouldn't we at least? I mean, there's nothing to decide yet. Why wouldn't we at least encourage taking a look at that? So
Okay.
that's great.
Do we want to give Matt an opportunity to say something?
I'm
All
fine.
right.
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Okay, Matt, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Golia. Mr. Parsons, you made reference to a special camp that the town has an agreement with. That's Northeast Westchester Recreation. It's a great organization. My son is 6 years old. He's autistic, and he goes there for recreation on Saturdays. They do offer a summer camp. It's for 6 weeks during the summer. The issue with that camp that my family would have is that it interferes with extended school year that's offered by the district. And I think that's really important for my son to attend ESY, which is extended school year. So it would be kind of one or the other if he attended that special camp.
I didn't realize that conflict existed.
Yeah, that's the only reason I raised my hand, just to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I hear you on a specific proposal, but I think that we're in discussions now, and it will take a little bit of nudging. And so I just wanted to bring it up and hope that there's support for it.
Okay.
That's all for me.
Tony.
A couple of things. There is tomorrow, 7 p.m., there is a Zoom call through Parks and Rec. Anyone interested can register with them. It's about trees. It's called Lewisboro's Triple Team on Trees. So you're going to have the CAC presenting. They're going to talk about the new tree ordinance. You're going to have a couple of folks from the Garden Club and an Eagle Scout candidate. From Parks and Rec, we have registration is open for pool membership and tennis membership. Fox Valley Tennis is open. Honor True will open up next week. And just some stats that I looked up today regarding COVID vaccinations broken down by zip code in town. For Cross River, we have about 44.8% of residents with at least one vaccine. Golden's Bridge, 55.7%. And South Salem, 38.8%. So there's still a lot of way to go to get folks vaccinated. And we are still working on getting a vaccination distribution center in town. So hopefully that will enable us to bring these numbers up. That's all I have. Thank you.
Dan.
Yeah, the only thing I would add and note is people have been interested in what's going on with the comprehensive plan steering committee, and they've been getting their legs, but they're all up in public now, and their minutes are up on the website, thanks to Janet and Jennifer, and they're also going live with their next meeting tomorrow, so they have a YouTube stream that's in the agenda that you can find on the calendar. So anybody who's interested in sort of following on a little more closely on that one, the opportunity is now there to do so.
I have nothing to add. So I would like to propose that we adjourn into executive session to discuss.
Peter, can you just mention the next meeting, please?
Oh, do you really want one?
Don't ask me that.
Yeah. The next board meeting will be on May the 10th, 2021 at 7:30 via remote access. I gather it may be the last, but not the last town board meeting, the last one via remote access, but I'm not sure. I kind of doubt that. And I think the governor at the last minute will expand or extend the period when it continues to be remote.
Well, the town attorney just advised us before we went on air, we're until May 16, I think now, right, currently?
That's where it is at this point, subject to further extension.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I guess there is one thing I should add. That is that truthfully, the number of cases of COVID in town is not going down like I would like to see it go down. At the moment, we're stuck at 32. Is that terrible? No, but it's still stuck at 32. Pound Ridge is forcing it down. Bedford down a little, Somers down considerably.
Peter, do we have any statistics as to percentage of residents which have been vaccinated to date? Do we get any info on that?
No, we don't.
Well, so Richard.
We have a percentage of vaccinated throughout the county, but not throughout the towns.
But
I
that's
don't
what Tony
know
just,
if you heard, if you heard my, and again, sorry about my audio. I don't know what's going on here, but I did post some stats today. Again, it's broken down by zip code. South Salem is at 38.8%, at least one vaccination. Golden's Bridge, 55.7. Cross River, 44.8.
Yeah, but that.
What about Walkabuck? No statistics on that?
No, there was actually, you know what? That's a good question. I didn't see that, but I can pull that up real quick.
and Lewisboro Hamlet?
Well, it's by zip code, so.
Okay.
He has nothing for
10597.
Vista, nothing for Lewisboro. So really, the South Salem figure
includes,
is kind of absurd.
Yeah.
Janet, you were saying something? Did you have that figure?
The zip code 10597.
Right.
No, I wish I had hoped we would be squeezing this figure downwards. At the moment, we're not.
Thanks for that info, Tony. Appreciate it.
And we, as far as I know, we have no specific reason in town why the level is staying right where it is. I had thought it was 4 winds at one stage, but I don't think it is. I know that Bedford has the problem of having 3 jails there, which really inflates their figure. That Somers has nursing homes and North Salem has 1 nursing home, but in spite of that, North Salem seems to be doing a very good job of pushing it down.
And Walkabuck is 35.1%.
What is Walkabuck?
35.1.
I'm surprised because
okay.
What do you think we can do in order to get those percentages up?
Help people make appointments.
Hopefully we'll, so on the county call today, we talked again about the local vaccination sites, and they may be opening up more locations. So for anyone that wants them, so I'm going to be pursuing that. Hopefully, if we have one local, a distribution site locally, we can market that to the residents and have them go over and get a vaccine at the courthouse, for example.
I'm imagining a lot of people who are homebound or in that older category that the tech, you have to sit. I mean, you all have done it. You have to sit and refresh and refresh and refresh and refresh and refresh. It's not.
I don't think any longer you have to, Jane. I think right now it's pretty easy to get.
Yeah, Plenty of vaccinations available. If you go on the sites, they're available. They're there. You don't have to wait any longer. The homebound, we were successful in getting vaccines for the ones who registered through Parks and Rec.
Yes, if anybody has a problem, go via Parks and Rec because they've got a very good record of getting people in. All right. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. I think I can do that now. And to discuss a legal issue and to discuss discuss a legal issue. Do I have a second?
Second.